Are you wondering why your e-commerce conversion rates are struggling? Maybe you looked at your price, you looked at your conversion path on your website, but if you haven't looked at page load speed time, you definitely should, because this could be a killer for your customers as well as your Google ranking. We recently put out a video on how to increase page load speed timing using key metrics like first contentful paint and largest contentful paint. And today, I'm going to get into what these metrics mean so that you can fix them. All right, today we're going to talk about the definitions of largest contentful paint and first contentful paint. I'm going to show you some examples of how to fix these things and what they look like on a website. I do like to keep things pretty simple. I'm not a web developer and I'm not a web host administrator. And if you have those people in your sphere, you may have to contact them to fix some of the issues that we're going to talk about today. So getting into it, I like to just point out some resources. This is where you can find some more information, and a lot of where I get my information from. These are Google's definitions and resources for these metrics. You can find them on web.dev/metrics. You'll see actually all of the core web vitals. The contentful paint metrics that we'll talk about today are part of the core web vitals. And if you want to see how your site's measuring up, those can be found in Search Console. So if you have a Search Console account and you go to the Web Vitals section, you will see what your Web Vitals are for your website. However, the core Web Vitals section of Search Console doesn't really give you too many specifics on how to fix them or what exactly is causing the issue, which, for these metrics are going to be a latent time for loading certain page elements. So you'll need to go to Page Speed Insights to find out how to fix some of these things. So, getting into what these actually are, first contentful paint, largest contentful paint, we're measuring how long it's taking for your website to load certain elements. First contentful paint is to load the first piece of content that you can see as it relates to styling on your website. So if it's some sort of border or a text block or something small, usually the smaller things are the first things to load. As soon as something loads, it's going to trigger the first contentful paint. It's going to mark the time in in Page Speed Insights or in Core Web Vitals. And so this is actually the first indication that your site's loading for a user. So they do track that. One of the bigger, I think, more important metrics that Google's looking at is largest contentful paint. And what that means is it's the largest image or text block visible within the viewport or your browser. So it doesn't mean all of the content's loaded, but typically the largest, meaning the heaviest file size or the heaviest piece of information in terms of size, is loading into the viewport. Usually when that's loading, or is fully loaded, that means that most of the website is probably loaded. So it's thinking that most of the web page is loaded. That's when the user is getting that same sense as well. As you'll notice on this screen, LCP, or largest contentful paint, has a score system. And so in Page Speed Insights, you'll see that they give colors for various scores. Anything less than 2.5 seconds is a good score. Anything more than 4 seconds is a poor score. And so you want to always aim to be in the green, although not an easy task. Let's get into some examples of this on various sites. These are the examples that are pulled from Google's web.dev resource. And so here's a CNN site that they have on their site. As you can see, they have flagged the first contentful paint on some of the first visible elements, which looks like it might be a menu and part of the main menu at the top and the logo. As other elements load, it continues to load, and then finally the largest contentful paint is there when the main banner image shows up at the top. Okay, here's another example. Here is TechCrunch. what's interesting about TechCrunch is that some of the first stuff that loads is not the stuff at the top of the page. It's actually stuff near the bottom of the page that tends to be the lightest, most lightweight elements to load. Some of the heaviest things to load might be the banner image at the top, or the ad at the top. And so as you see, as more things load, the largest Contentful paint is finally marked when those elements come into view. Here's a third example. This is a little bit different. You'll see that right away, this is a Google search from Larry Page, one of Google's founders, that the elements of the images on an image search, or it looks like a knowledge snippet, and it's showing images of Larry Page. The largest Contentful paint actually shows when some of the image comes into view and not the actual full clear image. So it's loading the file. Google's found a way to mark that LCP when the element is loaded and not when it's fully propagated. And there are many more examples that you'll see. Twitter, they have another example on that web.dev page with Twitter, and Twitter has a big button if you just go to the homepage of it. Most people use the app, but but the button app actually happens to be the largest element on that page. So I cover this in a different video, which will be on our blog, and we'll put a link to it in the description below. But ways to optimize for page speed. First is to look at your hosting resources, contacting your server administrator, seeing if your resources are in any way minimized because of a lack of bandwidth or a lack of RAM on your server. If that is the case, you may, or even if you're on a shared server, that can usually be a big culprit. You may want to increase your plan with them or opt to get more RAM or more resources to your server. You can also do some checks on your website and look how images are loaded. Images can be loaded in many different ways. Websites, different frameworks handle those differently. Ideally, for category pages or thumbnail images, you want to actually have a source image that is smaller than the original image that you uploaded. For instance, like on a product page. Product pages tend to have bigger images because customers want to zoom in on those pictures. So the quality and the size of that picture actually has to be bigger. On category pages, they don't need to be bigger. They only need to be a certain size, maybe for a quick view or maybe just for listing the thumbnail there. Shopify does a really great job of creating copies of the image in different sizes. So when they show on a collections page on Shopify, the images that are shown on that page are actually smaller copies of the original image that was uploaded. So the last part is removing render blocking JavaScript or CSS. The silver lining in this is that there are lots of apps, plugins, or extensions that allow you to clean up or optimize the various scripts that are on your site. Typically, JavaScript or CSS that are on your site having to do with the stylings that are on your site tend to get messy. So these apps, plugins, extensions, they do a good job of removing, minifying, concatenating, or deferring scripts that don't need to be used right away. All right, so that is pretty much the definition of FCP, LCP, how it works, how it's looked at, what you can do to start to look and fix some of these. We go into more detail in the other video that we put out on page speed insights and fixing your page load speed time. And so if you have questions, please leave those in the comments. Don't forget to like this video. And if you know anybody that has a slow website, please, please, please share this video with them. All right, guys, talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Bye. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you found the video helpful, please give it a like. That's how we're going to know that we're on the right track with the content that we're putting out. And if you want to get more e-commerce or marketing related videos from us, just gently click that bell icon down below and we'll let you know as soon as we publish anything at all. And if you have any questions or ideas, things that you want us to talk about, don't forget to leave those in the comments. All right, you ready? Let's go.